you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Kira the Doll back with yet another video. As y'all can see, we have yet another Auntie podcast recap today. Today's episode features the one and only Joseline Hernandez, the Puerto Rican princess. Today's episode brought up a lot of talking points that I wanted to touch bases on, so strap up for the ride, y'all. So to start off this episode, Tia checks Tokyo. It seemed like Tia want to hold her tongue. I understand why, because she the type that's not going back once she start, and that's when people take your kindness for weakness, which probably explains why Tia is the way that she is. You know, she probably just used to people running all over her, and then she just got to a point where she snaps over the slightest thing, you know, or as soon as somebody disrespect her, she go to hell. You go low, she go lower. You feel me? And that was a big talking point we touch on in this video. Is people taking your kindness for weakness. Because that's exactly what I felt like happened with our guest for today, Miss Joseline. So Tokyo basically reassures Tia that she meant no harm, very similar to how she did with Carlissa. With people that are nice, nasty, which is basically equivalent to a person that smiles in your face and says sly remarks, but you always chalk it to the game as they playing. It's crazy how Tokyo gives a perfect example of these people who do this. You cannot expect closure from a situation with a person who lacks accountability like Tokyo Tony, because they will always flip the situation around and go back onto you and just pretend they meant no harm and then say you're being too sensitive, which just applies to the whole situation what happened this episode. The situation between Tia and Tokyo and the situation between Joseline and Carlissa. Then Tia even asked Tokyo, is this a competition? And I literally said that about Tokyo Tony last week and the week before that. I've been saying she sees this as a competition. Tokyo says it's not a competition, but Carlissa would definitely not be back for season 2. And it's very funny because as she said that, I was literally thinking this show ain't making it to a season 2. But Tokyo saying that Carlissa won't be back for season 2, this is where you got to be careful when people show you who they are. Believe them. Just because she not being mean to Tia right now, don't mean that that day won't come. Off the rip, the aunties tell Joseline apparently Tia and Tokyo seem like they're fans of Joseline, but Carlissa says she isn't too fond of Joseline. I feel like Tokyo is cool with whoever she feel like she can't try and beat. Now that I got a little bit more time to see the show for what it is. Joseline comes up with great energy and flowers. That shows the growth of Joseline and a good energy that she brought onto the stage. She seems like one of the guests made for TV and a good addition for today's episode. A lot of the times the guests don't bring much energy and the aunties run all over them, but Joseline brings a very assertive energy to the set. Tia said she started her tongue thing when she got her veneers, y'all. I just wanted to slide that in right quick. But yeah, Carlissa asked Joseline her opinion on Spanish people saying the N-word. I love Joseline's breakdown, which is why I have to agree, and which is why I wasn't one of the ones too infuriated when Gretchen said because of the intent didn't seem malicious. It's not like she degraded black people, it was just a word. Different ethnicities have gotten away with way more. Black people say more colorist and racist stuff to one another than that word. So how can I really be mad? When my own people are the ones who made me self-conscious about the skin I'm in, not nobody Spanish, nobody white, and the list goes on. Our community has a lot to work on, and fighting people for saying a derogatory term turned into endearment should be the least of our worries. That's like being mad at a white tea person for being racist, when they're the same people that had us in chains. Racism is the least we're going to expect from them. It's just confusing as to why it's such a shock factor in 2024. Other people saying this word, we have witnessed this sort of thing throughout the whole 2000s. Plenty of artists even have it in their music, but now all of a sudden it's a problem. I think we fighting the wrong target. They're good at creating an internal conflict so that we forget sight of the bigger picture. We get very distracted. How about we try to address the issues within our own community, like the racism that resides within called colorism, instead of that way, when it's time to battle another group, we'll be stronger on the same page. How can we attack someone else for disrespecting us when we have so much deep rooted self hatred, racism, and trauma within our own community? At this point, I feel like some people just be wanting to snap out. It's time to heal and recognize our triggers. Stop letting emotions having control over our lives. But anyways, let's get back to the podcast. I see why the conflict began to arise between Carlissa and Joseline, which is because of the questions Carlissa was asking, which were seeming very shady. But it makes sense as though Carlissa was the one auntie to admit she didn't fully like Joseline before she even got on the stage. We was on your side, Carlissa, when it was Tokyo, but now this time we not with you. This episode shows Carlissa nice nasty behavior. Carlissa didn't ask Joseline is she being shady when Joseline explains how she owns her own show. It seemed like Carlissa just wanted a problem with Joseline. It got to the point Carlissa even started getting on Tokyo's nerves. It's sad that black people can't never have nothing. Why everything that black people have are in contact with, it always gets turned out. I honestly don't understand where the shade came from. Carlissa towards Joseline, because what did Joseline truly do? She has a husband. It seemed like she trying to turn her life around. Maybe if you call her 15 years ago, you could hate and call her a bop, but today she is very well put together, articulate, and kind. I don't see the issue. This shows why Joseline is the way that she is. When you're nice, many people take your kindness for weakness, which may be a trigger for Joseline. It is for me. I know that on her show, she may come off to be a certain way, but if she's there in the flesh and she's treating you well, why not treat her well? So Tokyo Tony takes a moment to privately chat with Joseline in hopes of resolving the situation. Around the time that Joseline got off stage was around when they were talking about Joseline's show, and Carlissa tells Joseline that she only got one more season of the cabaret. So as you can see, Carlissa was being very catty with Joseline. And it's funny to say that because y'all can't even cooperate for y'all own damn show. But anyway, in order for the show to continue, Carlissa is asked to withdraw from the remainder of the episode. Joseline basically makes it clear that she caught every bit of shade. I don't understand why people can see a person perfectly content and go into their space and decide to poke the bear because they want to see an explosion. Carlissa want to act like she don't know what she did wrong, and she looks hurt when Joseline's walking off the stage. This brings us to the example I mentioned earlier in the video when I said that certain people will push your buttons, and when you address it, they act delusional, like you're the problem when they have been provoking you the whole time. I honestly commend Joseline because it took her a good 15 minutes to react to the disrespect. Joseline says Carlissa breath smell like. This was literally the highlight of the episode for sure. Joseline was made for TV. Joseline told them stop recording her, and I love her. She just demands respect and gets it every time. The cameraman didn't hesitate to follow Joseline's directions. Carlissa tried to apologize, but it's too late. Everybody ain't playing babes. I be feeling the exact same way. When people come on this channel and talk shit about me, the creator of the video, and they choose to comment on my video like you can't get blocked, by that point it's too late because you felt comfortable enough to disrespect me in the first place. So I cannot be delusional and expect a different outcome from this same person. Know your boundaries and stand on it. Because I literally got a comment that said no shade, but proceeded to shade me. So I proceeded to block them because you obviously being shady. There is a way to go about things. Being disrespectful will not get any message across, especially with certain people. There's a right way and wrong way to express yourself without disrespecting others. If you don't have common decency, morals, respect for others, then please get far away from me. This is literally the hardest part of YouTube, the negative feedback. I come on here and am as respectful as possible on every commentary about every person. I never come on my channel and just slander anyone. So when you decide to get disrespectful when I'm already fighting negative thoughts and opinions and making it a priority to respect every guest on this show and celebrity I touch on, what makes you think I will sit here and allow you to come on my channel and disrespect me? What do I look like going back and forth arguing on the internet? Please, let's be realistic. Because so many of y'all are so bold online and say things that you wouldn't say out loud in a million years. But when you have people who are a little older, who are more set in their ways, this is where you get people like Carlissa who think they're being kind or swear they're not being harmful just because they never learn how to properly communicate and speak to people like some of y'all need to. Respect people's boundaries and one another. Respect people is what I mean. Boundaries and them, period. Majority of people don't have simple compassion for the person next to them, no matter who that person is, the next human. Joseline just wants her flowers. She came with gifts and flowers, and you still felt comfortable enough to disrespect this woman. This bring up the point that I made last week, as far as when you see these aunties interview people younger than them, they feel as though they have the right to speak to them any kind of way. I literally had to cut off so many family members as I became an adult for this exact same reason. I don't even want to bring myself to stoop down to any level. I would rather just remove myself from negativity, let those miserable people be miserable, and go on about my day. Joseline then talks about Carlissa outfit and breath, y'all. Carlissa outfit wasn't it. I can agree on that. I thought the same thing, but this ain't the first time that Carlissa and any of the aunties' periods looks have not been up to par. It gives liquor house on the corner type of vibes. The way they be dressed and presents themselves, they could definitely match the cutesy decor that they have. By this point, Joseline's so mad that when they ask about Tommy, she immediately says she not talking about her. She only want to talk about people on her level. Joseline's confidence need to be studied. It got her to where she is. She called herself the Puerto Rican princess and an international superstar way before her music started doing numbers. She literally spoke it into existence. Now, with the way Carlos staring at Joseline, she seems jealous. I find this with a lot of people older than me. One time I was a manager and had workers 10 to 20 years older than me. And one woman didn't like me off bat for no reason. When I thought about it, it was due to the fact that I was 10 years younger than her and giving her orders. She would try to get me in trouble and tell our boss over exaggerated stories of the way I treated her. This accusation confused me so badly because I just did not understand what I could have did or said to be mean because of the big heart and compassion I have for others. With that being said, some people will never like you no matter what you do or don't do. Most of the time, when a person doesn't like you, it has less to do with you and more to do with them and their insecurities and how your light reminds them of what they lack, but you can't dim your light for nobody. Jocelyn basically explains how she's immortal at this point in her life. She explains how she created a legacy for her kids and her kids' kids. We gotta give Jocelyn her flowers. She didn't lie once. She ran laps around these aunties. By the time she's their age, she will be somewhere with her feet up. And speaking of feet, now Tokyo. But yeah, Carlissa is very bothered by Jocelyn. I don't know if she's drunk or what, but it's starting to make sense why Krishan beat her up. People always want to just say what will paint someone in a bad light. All we heard is Krishan beat up her boyfriend mom. We just kept hearing that over and over. But now that we met the mama, can we blame Krishan? A lot of the stuff that she used to be saying is starting to make sense. What did Jocelyn really do to Carlissa? That's why you got kicked out your own show. That's what Jocelyn said. Jocelyn calls her jealous, which I see as well. Carlissa had it made up in her mind before Jocelyn even got out there that she wasn't a fan, which implies she was going to be messy. I definitely feel like Carlissa may have been a little too lit because I was honestly shocked by her reaction and outburst as she was walking off set. Jocelyn says, "You supposed to be an auntie, but you actually a grandma. You the grandma the baby." Joseline is honestly grateful for the opportunity to get her show on Zeus and for 5 seasons. This is also why I feel like she made it to where she is, because she is grateful. When you're content in the moment and you attract more to be happy about, all problems do is follow you. Tia advice to Joseline is to be a little bit more lenient to the women on her cabaret show. Then Tokyo's advice to Joseline is just basically to be you. Then Joseline breaks down, and I understand because people always want to tear down the next person. The spirit of jealousy takes a hold of a lot of people, literally runs people's lives. Why couldn't Carlissa just Joseline her flowers after being met by open arms and love? There really is no other way to describe this than jealousy. Like Joseline said, it's frustrating when you go somewhere with the intent of being happy, chill, nothing about a conflict, but you still somehow end up in conflict. Carlissa also give me a vibe of a very judgmental person. I have many family members like this, so I spot it a mile away and don't do well with these type of people. It's people who are almost never satisfied and always looking for something to say you done wrong, no matter how kind or what you do for them. Jealousy is just misplaced love, because a person will never get jealous of someone with something they don't want. It's usually the person that has what they want or assume that they want. But what I always say is, just because you see a smile on the next person's face don't mean you know what they've been through, or that you would even still be smiling if you had to walk a mile in their shoes. After a certain point, we all can attest to the fact that we get tired of getting kicked while we're down and get to a point where you lash out at the slightest bit of disrespect. So, the learning lesson of this episode is, after a certain point, it's time to grow up, y'all. But I'm not sure if this is the last episode of this season. I feel like it may be. So next show I will be reviewing will be Joceline's Cabaret. I just want to see how this season is gonna go. That just gave me an idea seeing her on this episode. So yeah, stay tuned for that video coming. I'll see y'all back next time. Leave a comment down below. Let me know you guys' opinions on this episode. But yeah, see you guys. Bye.